Come along for a once-in-a-lifetime journey through New England as you've never experienced it before. A true insider's guide from the editors of Yankee magazine. Join explorer and adventurer Richard Weiss and his co-host Yankee senior food editor Amy Traverso for behind-the-scenes access to the unique attractions that define this region. It's the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee.
As far as state capitals go, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more inviting one than Concord, New Hampshire. This city of some 43,000 residents has been the seat of government for more than 2 centuries and is home to a beautiful main street where you'll find an assortment of shops and restaurants. We started our Concord day at one of the newest downtown businesses, Revelstoke Coffee.
My name's Alex Stoyle.
My name is Lindsay Cole.
And we own Revelstoke Coffee here in beautiful downtown Concord, New Hampshire. We are directly across the street from the State House. I always tell people, go to the Gold Dome, look across the street, you can't miss us. The vibe in Concord is beautiful. It's historic. There's all these beautiful old buildings here, and they're filled with all these cool new businesses. There seems to be a lot of young people moving to Concord and a lot of new places springing up. Having our business right across the street from the State House is fun. We get to kind of tap into not only what's going on in the government, but what people are saying on the street. I could see why you'd call the State House the People's House, but to me, it's not the State House, it's the area around it. It's the lawn, it's Revelstoke, it's the Barley House, it's the area around it.
Built using local granite, New Hampshire's 201-year-old State House is a popular tourist spot and is one of the most accessible State House buildings in the country. We recently visited this grand building with the person who just may know it best, Director of the Visitor Center, Virginia Drew, who has led tours of the property for more than 2 decades.
When you're walking up to the building, besides that great dome, what will also first hit you are those huge granite columns. Imagine, when the building was first completed, it was just a 2-story, very modest structure with a silo on top. In the midst of the Civil War, New Hampshire's legislators decided to show that this is a building that's here to stay, and so they brought in those large granite columns. The dome was added in the midst of the war. When you look at our building closely, you'll see that the first 2 floors of granite are a little darker, and the 3rd floor is a little lighter, and that actually highlights that addition that they put on during the war.
The House Gallery is home to the oldest continuously used legislative chamber in America. And with 400 members, the State House of Representatives is the 3rd largest parliamentary body in the world. Next door resides the more formal and much smaller Senate chamber. This is the home of the 24-member State Senate, a legislative body that was founded in 1784. History runs deep in this room, which for many years also doubled as the New Hampshire Supreme Court chambers as well. 4 large murals dominate one of its walls. They were created by New Hampshire artist Barry Faulkner and placed on the walls in 1942. They've recently been restored, and each panel represents something important about the state.
So the first mural highlights the first graduation at Dartmouth College, and it's a reminder of the importance of education to the people of New Hampshire. The next mural has Daniel Webster. He's shown when he's only about 9 years old. Daniel Webster his portrait's on the wall of the House chamber. His statue is the first statue on the grounds of the State House. Webster's a favorite son of New Hampshire, but when he was 9 years old, he memorized the Constitution, and in that mural shows them as a young boy starting his journey on becoming known as the defender of the Constitution. The next mural highlights the group of artists. The man seated's name was Abbott Thayer, and Abbott Thayer and Faulkner together developed the protective color theory. Later, those same artists ended up in France. They were part of the Yankee Brigade, but they were also known as the Camouflage Division. And the mural on the end is New Hampshire's great John Stark. 1945, states all over the nation were coming up with their state motto. And it looked very much like we were going to have a very nice motto. It wasn't significant enough because a senator stood up and announced, with John Stark looking at us, the words that he wrote after the Revolutionary War are so significant that they embrace all that's New Hampshire. Live free or die. I make a motion that we adopt that as our motto. It was seconded and unanimously voted on like that. Legislation doesn't usually happen that quick.
When visitors first step into the State House, they walk into an area known as the Hall of Flags. The history of this regal space really begins after the Civil War, when veterans and families of Union soldiers spontaneously brought flags carried by New Hampshire soldiers to the State House. Joined together, these battle-worn flags create a moving memorial, transforming Doric Hall into what is now known as the Hall of Flags. Since that time, flags from other wars have been added.
The Hall of Flags is my favorite part of the building, and in the Hall of Flags, we have 88 Civil War battle flags. I love to tell the story of what I call the Forester flag, which is a flag from the 13th Regiment. That flag flew over the capital of Richmond, Virginia, and when they seceded, they tossed the flag out. And working in that building was a free African-American man named Richard Gill Forester. And Richard Gill Forester very bravely took that United States flag and hid it beneath his cot for years. And when the New Hampshire 13th marched on Richmond, they watched the Confederate flag be lowered. They watched the United States colors go up above Richmond. He ended up joining up with the 13th Regiment. I've had wonderful conversations with his great-grandson. It's a family tradition that they bring the children every so many years to come and see that flag that their great-grandfather had kept and cherished.
The State House Visitor Center isn't just a shop, it's also a little museum. An entire wall showcases the state's first-in-the-nation presidential primary legacy, with a display of some of the most unique political mementos you're likely to find. There are also photos and posters and original newspapers from signature moments in our country's history.
I had a young child who said, well, I really like history, so I'm really happy to be here. And he had a little notebook and he's taking notes, and the other students are kind of ignoring him. They said, oh, he's a history geek. And I thought, oh, after my own heart. Well, we have this old newspaper from November 11th, 1918. And I showed it to him. And he looked at me and he said, can I touch it? And he put his hand out onto that newspaper and said, I'm touching history.
Perhaps no other state house in the country tells the story of its home state like the New Hampshire State House. If you're planning a visit to the Concord region, make sure a stop here is part of your itinerary.